Hey everybody, this is Heidi, and you're listening to the Successful Fashion Designer Podcast. We all know that the fashion industry is brutally competitive and it takes loads of hard work to get ahead. The problem is that everyone's secretive and tight-lipped about their ways. After working as a designer and educator for over a decade, I wanted to help break down those barriers and bring you valuable knowledge from industry experts, and this show is exactly where you'll find that. Whether you're trying to break into the fashion world, make yourself more marketable, launch your own label, or become a successful freelancer, we'll help you get ahead in the cutthroat fashion industry. Hey everybody, this is episode 33 of the Successful Fashion Designer Podcast, and today I'm going to do things a little different. It is Christmas Day. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. And I don't have a guest for you today, but instead what I'm going to do is go through a review and a recap of what happened in 2017 and also give you a little preview of what's coming in 2018. Something I started doing just last year is going through and reviewing everything that I've accomplished, whether it be for that year, that week, that month, that day, whatever it is, taking a look at what you've gotten done. Here's what I've found. You often accomplish way more than you give yourself credit for. We're really hard on ourselves for the stuff that we don't get done, and we don't often celebrate the stuff that we do get done. This is something that a coach of mine is helping me do regularly every week now, and it's been tremendous. It's not only actually helping me get more done, but it's really helping me realize what I have accomplished. And so since it's the end of the year, I wanted to go through a quick recap of everything that happened this year in my successful fashion designer business, as well as my design business. 2017 was a year of big change. If you are a newer listener or a newer audience member, then you may not know that I used to operate exclusively under the name and the website Sew Heidi, S-E-W. And that was a name I had started long ago when I actually used to sew and it was really relevant. I kept it and it just sort of stuck. But as the business grew, I didn't feel like it really encompassed everything that I was doing and all the content that I was creating. I wanted to change to Successful Fashion Designer for a while, but I knew it was a really big undertaking. I had about 8 years of content to transfer over a website. The logistics of transferring a business name are pretty intense. And so my husband, Mark, and I finally ripped off the Band-Aid and said, let's just do this. Let's just transfer this thing over. And we did. So thank you to him. He took care of all the technical logistics of getting the site moved over. And it's been such a great transition. I'm now really proud of the name, and I feel like it really encompasses everything that we do. We also killed a pretty big project this year. If you never followed us on our Cooking Digital Fashion show, it was a live show that we did every Monday night out of our kitchen. It was really fun. It was a total experiment. We had no idea what was going to happen. And a lot of you showed up. It was really casual. We cooked, we talked fashion. Sometimes there were tutorials. We drank wine and whiskey, and it was a great time. But we had started it, like I said, as a total experiment, and it started to get to the point that I wanted to bring guests on the show. I wanted to do interviews. I wanted to bring you guys more knowledge and introduce you to experts that had things to share, way above and beyond my expertise. And turns out it's kind of awkward and weird and hard to invite people you don't know over to your house for dinner and drinks. And so that never really came to fruition. It was also a big challenge since I live in Denver and I only have access to so many people. So we killed that show, and instead we started the podcast, which is what you're listening to right now. The podcast has been one of the best win-win things I've ever done in my business. The feedback from you guys has been so amazing. I know tons of you have learned. You've taken action on the content that we're putting out. It's been phenomenal. I've heard some really great success stories from you guys as to the success you've seen from the content you've gotten from the Successful Fashion Designer podcast, and that is great. It's also been really, really fun for me to get to meet new people in the industry, to get to learn new things about different parts of the industry that I'm not super knowledgeable about, and it's been just fantastic overall. So thank you for your support on that. This has been a really fun journey, and it's been not something I've been able to do on my own. Mark, my husband, does do all the editing. I have an assistant, Teresa, who helps promote and push stuff to social to get more people listening. So thank you to you guys for all the help that you put together to make this show happen. I released a couple pieces of epic material this year. The first one was the Ultimate Guide to Adobe Illustrator for Fashion. This is a great guide to go through if you're feeling sort of unsure about where to start with Illustrator, or you're feeling intimidated, or you need a little boost in confidence. And it's going to outline everything you do and don't need to know, and sort of how to get your mindset going to get started with Illustrator. This has been a great resource for you guys. It's been downloaded almost 3,000 times, which is something I'm really proud of. And I've gotten great feedback that a lot of you have used this to help further your career in the industry, and that's really, really awesome. One thing that I also killed is my Illustrator tutorials, and I won't say I've killed these indefinitely, but here's kind of what happened. I created 29 Illustrator tutorials this year, which is not a ton. I had started out January in the beginning of the year creating a weekly tutorial like I had been for a while, and it got to the point that I was feeling so overwhelmed. I was putting out a tutorial. At that time, I was doing either the live show on Monday night or now doing the podcast. I was putting out a blog post. I was continuing to run my online courses and training programs. And I still work as a designer and do contract freelance work. So it got to the point that I was trying to put out so much content on a regular basis. I literally felt like I couldn't breathe. There was so much content to have to be created every week. And what I started finding was that I was just replicating myself in the tutorials. I have over 100 tutorials out there that are all still valid and relevant to Illustrator. And as many of you were asking me for more tutorials, I found that I could always point you to something that was already existing on my channel. And I just said, I've got to take an indefinite break from this because I can't just keep putting out more tutorials on the same stuff. I'm physically incapable of doing this much content, and I wanted to start creating more content around other things that I hadn't covered before and that no one else had covered before, which, if you've been paying attention the past few weeks, is around freelancing. And so I decided to really go full force into freelancing, specifically support, strategy, advice on how to be a freelance fashion designer. I recently released my ultimate guide to freelancing, and I did it as an audiobook as well. The feedback from you guys has been so amazing. Thank you so much for that. It is over 20,000 word document. If that means nothing to you, it takes about an hour and a half to read. The audio recording is about 2.5 hours of step-by-step instruction and guidance on how to present your portfolio, how to look for and reach out to clients, how to set, figure out, and negotiate your price, everything you need to know. The really, really cool thing is that I've already gotten feedback from a couple of you guys that you have used the strategies in the guide and you have seen results to get a better rate with clients and earn more money and confidently negotiate what your work's worth. So that is amazing. That is a free guide, and it's so cool that something I put out for free is actually getting people real, tangible results that are impacting their careers, their lives, their finances. That's so amazing. If you've never heard me say it before, I do strive to make my free materials better than most people's paid materials, and this is a perfect example. If you haven't checked the guide out, definitely take a look. You can get that at sfdnetwork.com/freelance. Something else that I did a lot this year that a lot of you may not know about is always engaging with you guys. I love meeting you. I love having calls. And I did 57 Skype calls with people in my audience this year. And these are not necessarily students or people that have paid me for coaching or programs. These are just any average listener, subscriber who is engaged and has something to chat about. I hop on a Skype call and we talk. I love getting to know you guys better. I love hearing your journey, hearing your stories, hearing what's working for you, hearing what's not working for you. And so I wanted to share that because that's something I think a lot of you guys don't realize is that I do engage with a lot of you regularly. Some of these phone calls last 30, 45, over an hour long. It's fantastic. We just have all these great chats, and if it's worth anything, it's also nice for me. I work out of a home office and am alone a lot of the time, so it's really nice to continue to be engaged and not be in a vacuum so much. On that note, I'm also trying to do better on social media. This is a really hard platform for me. I don't know why. I've never really felt comfortable. I've always felt like I don't know what to post. I don't want to be overly staged. I don't want to be overly promotional. I don't want to be overly real. And I kind of got over that, and per the inspiration of some people and some friends, And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to post. I'm just going to post it. And if it's not that great of a post, who cares? Like, no one's going to see it after 24 hours. It's going to be gone. And it's been really, really fun. I've been having some great chats and conversations with a lot of you guys in the comments. And I'm just trying to be real. I don't post any stock photos or staged photos. I do promote the show, of course. I do promote various material that I put out, but I also just try to be real and share snippets of everyday life. So I'm really proud to say I put out 171 Instagram posts, and I just started doing Instagram stories. I've done 32 stories, and I know that might sound ridiculous to you guys. Oh, why is she sharing the exact number? And it's just because it's something I look at that, you know, if you look at the year before, I think I maybe posted 10 times on Instagram. And so that's a really big number for me, and it's something I'm proud of and I'm getting more comfortable with, and I'm being okay with not being perfect. Something that I really have tried to be more mindful of in my business is just experimenting and having fun. You know, I mentioned earlier we did the Cooking Digital Fashion show every Monday, and that was a total experiment, and it was totally random and we had no idea what was going to happen, but it was one of those things that sometimes you just have to do something and then you figure out, you know, this is or isn't working and this is what we could change or this is how we could course correct to make it be better. And honestly, if we didn't start that Cooking Digital Fashion show, I don't know if the podcast would be here today. Not because it made us think of the idea of a podcast. Obviously, podcasts have been around forever, but it was more that for me, mentally to sort of come to terms with, okay, a podcast is the next thing that I need to do. The live Monday night Cooking Digital Fashion show was sort of a stepping stone to that. So I say that and I reiterate that because I want you guys in your business, in your career, in your life, whatever it is, to think about doing something first and just getting started, even if it's not the perfect thing, even if it's not the right thing. Just do it and figure it out. And if it's working, then keep going or make some adjustments or just kill it. That's okay. There's a great saying that I always try to remind myself of, which is if you're not embarrassed of the first version of your product, you launched too late. And I know I look back on a lot of stuff that I've put out and I am super embarrassed, and that's great. And I'm just continuing to improve and get better from here on and forward. Something else is Facebook Live. I know I am really late to the game on this one, but I've done 2 now and it's been super, super fun. Again, just an experimentation. Some of you guys have joined me and it's been really, really great. The feedback has been really fun. And again, just an experimentation and we'll see what happens. On the client side of things, I still keep pretty busy. I didn't do all of this by myself. I do have a business partner and an assistant, but we collectively designed, created tech packs, and sourced 87 different styles for clients. So that's something I really still enjoy doing, and I really still love being engaged in the industry as I teach you guys how to improve your engagement and experience in your career in the industry, however you're working in the industry. One other thing with that, a lot of you may or may not know that my formal training is in graphic design. I did not go to fashion school. I went to college for graphic design. And so I still do a lot of catalog work for clients. So I successfully put together, laid out, designed, and sent to press 7 different catalogs. And these are all for various companies, fashion brands, and companies that we work with to design their product. We also do a lot of catalogs for them as well. Now, that was a big list of everything that went really well in 2017. It doesn't mean everything always goes really well. I did have one really big failure. I launched a new program and it totally... I shouldn't say it totally flopped. I did not get the engagement that I needed to actually run it, and so I canceled it. And it was a program that I had a lot of anxieties around doing because it was a new topic for me to teach. And this is specifically around freelancing. I'm going to be totally transparent with you guys. I have a few theories on why it didn't get the engagement that it needed. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details. And those are all things that I just had to learn and figure out how to adjust and course correct and fix. And so I'm excited to tell you that coming up in 2018, I will be relaunching the program. This is something I really believe in. You know, freelancing in the fashion industry is totally possible. It's totally doable. I know a lot of designers that have success doing this full time, but it's a weird space. There's no resources out there. Nobody's talking about it. And I can't really figure out why. I have some theories. Again, I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of that either, but it's a space I feel very passionate about, and I feel really strongly and I really believe in doing this work with you guys and helping you see success. This is the type of resource and education that can change your life, and I really want to be part of that with you. I am toying with some ideas around some additional support, some type of program. I have no idea what it would look like around launching your label. This is a space that I've been thinking about for a long time. I know there's other courses and programs and masterminds and coaching groups out there. So I'm loosely toying with this. It's not something I've officially put on the list. It's not something I've officially crossed off the list. So I just want to throw that out there. It's something I think about. One other thing that I do really want to emphasize in 2018 is doing more small group coaching. One of my coaches, I work pretty intimately with him. There's a small group of 5 of us that meet every week. And, he talks a lot about how there's hundreds of thousands of online courses that people can just buy, and they're automated and you can go through them on your own pace, but the success rate of these is very, very, very low. The rate of completion is very, very, very low. Now, I do think there's a time and a place when an automated sort of self-led program is the right direction, but I also think there's a time and place where smaller group coaching, really holding everybody's hand, really holding people accountable, really making sure they see success and making sure they do the best job possible for themselves is a more appropriate direction. And so that's something I want to think about a lot in 2018 is how can I work with you guys? How can we work together to really see success? So, not putting out another program that you just buy and you never actually go through and you never see results, because that's not good for anybody. So something I'm thinking about, again, I do think there's a time and a place for sort of the self-led online program. I think that works great for some topics, but there's other things that are a little bit more complicated where people just get stuck and they get hung up and they're never going to get through it on their own. And I don't want to put out a program like that. So I'm thinking about, how I can implement more small group coaching and really work with you guys to make sure you see success. I'm also going to be creating more epic content like the Ultimate Guide to Freelancing. I think this is really important to create these documents and these pieces of content that really walk you through start to finish how to do something. And so I'm really going to focus on putting out these really phenomenal resources instead of just a bunch of dinky little things. And I don't say that in any negative way, because I have a bunch of quote unquote dinky little things. Sometimes a 2-minute video or a 3-minute read for a blog post is all that you need. But I also think there's a time and a place to put out something so phenomenal and so epic that can really walk people through start to finish so they see results. Couple other things. Looking at dabbling with Patreon per the encouragement of Mark. If you're not familiar with Patreon, simply put, it's an online platform that allows the creator, which would be me, to sort of block off certain content for people who subscribe or pay a monthly rate. And what I mean by that is this is not a way for me to monetize and to earn more money, but it's a place where you could say, okay, I will pledge $1 a month to your Patreon, and then you get access to additional content, additional material, additional engagement with me, whatever it may be. And that's really probably what it'll be, $1 or $2 a month. It's going to be very small. You actually get to choose the price. But for $1 a month, I want to create a space where we can experiment more with different types of content, with different types of media, with different types of engagement. And so by having it sort of roped off to the people that pay, you have a little bit of a commitment. I know $1 is not much. It's barely not even a coffee, but you have a little bit of commitment. If you're paying $1 every month, your chances of being a little bit more engaged are higher than if you're just getting something for free. And so this is a space that Mark is very familiar with, and he thought, let's just experiment and do it for 6 months and see what happens. So we're going to do that. One of the ideas we've got a bunch, but the one I'll throw out at you right now is giving people who are in there who have pledged $1 a month the opportunity to see the upcoming guests for the podcast and submit questions to be answered on the show. So giving you the opportunity to be a little bit more engaged to get your questions answered. We have some other ideas about how to sort of engage, but again, just looking at it as a place to experiment, see what works, see what doesn't work, and have fun with you guys. So throwing that out there that we're probably going to start that in, I'm not sure when, January, February, sometime pretty early in the year. Last, I know I've mentioned this to you guys before, but talking about doing some on-site video documentaries. We had planned to record some the end of 2017. It did not happen. The logistics of coordinating this with the people has just been a challenge, but we're looking at things like there's a technical designer and a pattern drafter here in Colorado, and so going to visit him and doing an on-site documentary and doing some video footage of his space and what the process looks like, and releasing that as a little mini sort of documentary. Or there's a really amazing sewing machine supply store. They sell all sorts of different industrial machines, and the guy that runs it is phenomenally knowledgeable in this space. He's been running the shop forever, and so doing sort of like a run through of all these different sewing machines and just some kind of fun documentary stuff like that. So looking at trying to get that scheduled again, the logistics behind that has been a challenge, and it does take a pretty big amount of effort and energy to put that all together, but it's something that's sort of on the to-do list. So I wanted to take a few minutes today on Christmas Day, if you celebrate, to just do a quick recap with you of everything that happened in 2017 and give you a little preview of what's coming in 2018. If you've never done anything like this for yourself, take 5 minutes right now and write down a list of everything that you got accomplished in 2017. If you're really feeling ambitious, do this on a weekly or a monthly basis. It can be really helpful to go through and see what you actually get done. I guarantee you it's a lot more than you think. Like I said, we're all really good at being hard on ourselves about, oh, I didn't finish this and I missed this deadline and I wanted to get this done. And sometimes that's all we can remember in our heads, but in reality, we do still get a lot done. So congratulate yourself and be proud of yourself for what you have done. I'm sure it's a lot more than you think. I will leave you guys there. Next week is New Year's Day, so I'll just have a short, quick message for you. There will not be another episode, but we will be back with the full show with a brand new interview the following Monday after that for the first episode of 2018. Thank you guys so much for your support and continued encouragement for this show and everything that we're doing. It's been a blast. I have so much fun working with you guys. If you love what we're doing and you enjoy the show, I would be thrilled if you hit subscribe and or left a review or rating on iTunes. It really does help out. You can do that at sfdnetwork.com/subscribe. That'll take you right to iTunes where you can do all that fancy business. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a happy holiday with your families, and I will talk to you next week.